Welcome back to another edition of Dogging It. I'm Molina Mike, and you guys know who this guy is on my left hand side. And Michael Panozzo of Bears Digest. Um, I'm live via. Where am I at, Mike? I'm in Quincy,
You're
Illinois
in
for the
Quincy,
June.
Illinois.
It's been a blur, Mike. It's been a long couple of days, that's for sure. And then it's putting it pretty mildly, but yeah, man, it's been cool, Mike, seeing these some new champions being crowned and some and pretty awesome discipline in eight ball. So,
Yeah. I saw Joey Tate and Sophia Mast, right? Scored the
hmm
big gold medals, and
yeah,
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 happy for both of them. Both great kids, strong players. So yeah, glad to see them. And today they're playing straight pool. It's got to be
interesting.
there has to be some quizzical looks on some of these kids playing straight pool right now.
A lot of I've never played straight pool in my life is what I've heard over the last couple of days. But I like introducing them to new games, obviously, because I'm more of a one pocket guy, so I like that tactical type of game. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's different. I like seeing these kids go and compete. You know, I got a soft spot for some of these kids that I have better relationships with, like Joey and like Sophia, but even Savannah and this kid Yoder who got second place. He ended up
Right?
being a real good kid. Adrian was running like I don't know 30, 40 balls whenever I left over there. So it's been a good day of pool. Continue to be a great event, and as long as I got some caffeine in my life, I think we'll be all right. So, but the reason why we're here, Mike, we've been talking a lot of junior stuff, but there was an announcement the other day, obviously, that we kind of like left, unknown about when it came to this new event um,
Yeah.
being announced on ESPN. It was interesting because as I went to their Facebook page and it was called Pro, what is it, Pro Q, what some PCL Pro Q League?
Yeah, professional Q sport
Yeah.
league or something. Yeah.
So I go to their their Facebook page, go to their website. They had a YouTube video that was posted 3 years ago, which had me scratching my head. Then I see that the graphic that showed that they were, doing the August, whatever it is, August 8th, I think, on ESPN Ocho, whatever, was put out there like a week before it went public. So obviously these guys know how to market real well. Clearly.
Well, yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's interesting. I mean, for those
Right.
not late to the party or haven't seen it, there was an announcement. And it was kind of not cryptic, but it was just there just wasn't a lot there. All of a sudden, this thing just showed up on social media. This little poster that showed Jeanette Lee, Jennifer Beretta, Johnny Archer, and Feder Gorst, and the professional Q Sports League. Um, you know, going to have an event live on ESPN two on August 4th, which is a Friday, and and that was pretty much it. And it linked to this little video of kind of rules to play the game, and so they really didn't do much in terms of letting people know what the heck we're talking about. What there wasn't much of a lead in for it. It just kind of dropped like a brick, and there wasn't a lot of information in there to start with. So, so that got a lot of people kind of on tilt, and
A lot of questions.
a lot of questions, a lot of comments. It sounds like bonus ball. A lot of comments, obviously, about Johnny Archer being involved in something, that's going to be on TV.
Mike,
Um,
I know he's a Hall of Famer, Mike. He's got a lot to his name, but as of late in the last few years, he's got a lot of other things lately that have not been so positive. So it was very surprising, but between the two of us, Mike, we're usually like if something comes out, we usually got an idea something's coming out. We
a little
usually
sniff.
hear, yeah, between the two of us, we usually know, what's on the horizon. We can come out here and say, oh, this is surprising news. But that one really caught us off guard because I send you the thing and you're like, what's this? And I'm like, that's why I'm messaging you. What is this? So since me and you last spoke, you've been, you're obviously an actual journalist, and you've been doing some hard work, Mike. So fill
I've
me
been
in a little bit.
gumshoeing. I've been
Fill
gumshoeing the streets.
knocking
Uh,
on doors, Mike. Believe
yeah,
me.
yeah. No, so the connection to bonus ball is real, and for people who don't
Okay.
there's a lot of people who don't know what bonus ball was. Bonus ball was a league that was developed in the early 2000 and teens, um, that was developed by this guy in Canada who developed this game called bonus ball, and it had its own set of balls, and he was going to create these teams, and they were going to play, he built out a studio. So the whole thing was he was building out a studio in Las Vegas. The players were going to come in for a couple of months, and he was going to pay them a salary, and they were going to hang on there the whole, hang out there the whole month, live in apartments, and come and play their matches during the day, and three-man teams and all this stuff. And was not, not surprisingly in the billiard world, it wasn't, you know, the business plan and the structure wasn't probably as dialed in as it should have been.
That's
And
unlike anything in this industry, Mike.
well, here's the timeline. From what I remember, bonus ball got announced late in 2010,
Okay.
right? With pictures of players, and this is a new league or whatever. It started in May of 2013.
It's 3 years later.
Yeah, 3 years later,
Okay.
2.5 years later, and it took, they had a lot of mess ups with the building of the arena in Las Vegas. The investor creator, that team from Canada were hemorrhaging money putting all this stuff together. And so, not surprisingly, when it came time to play, they were a little short on funding. And so, what was going to be a 26 league, I think a 26-week league, ended up being 6. And even then, there were players who didn't get paid the last couple of weeks. So,
wow, people not getting paid in the pool world, Mike?
So the long and short of it, was that the game was actually kind of interesting. It was hard to follow. It was hard for the players to follow. It had these very intricate rules. You each had 3 pockets on each side of the table, and players were shooting out of turn, shooting at the wrong ball, shooting whatever. It was hard for the players to even follow. So, but it didn't not succeed because of that. It didn't succeed because by the time they got around to market, they didn't have the funding to sustain it. Right.
They got to weather it. Right.
And so it fell apart, and they suspended it for like 6 months, and then finished up the season with about 3 or 4 more weeks or whatever the heck it was in their playoffs, and whatever. And it kind of went away after that.
What's the connection now from this announcement versus bonus ball, 13 years ago, 10 years ago?
Other than the fact that this announcement came out a year ago and they're just doing it now. I mean, there's that similarity.
Yeah.
But no, well, it's actually the same. One of the original investors bought out the other investors who were originally involved, and is basically rebranded and is repackaging the game. And to me, this whole thing is basically about someone who wants to sell a proprietary game that has proprietary equipment. Okay. And that was the whole thing behind the original bonus ball. Could we turn it into a big, massive league? Sure. Could it be in pool rooms around the country? Yeah. And that was the grand scheme. And the grand scheme was do that because I own the league, I own the products, I own the ball sets that you have to use, things like that. So that's where the payoff was, part of the payoff was going to come in on
that's what you're looking at as the end of the rainbow form. That's the out.
No, I mean, eventually it all ties hand in hand, right? If you can develop a product that all of a sudden millions of people are watching and millions of people are playing, and oh, by the way, you own that product and you own the ball sets and all that stuff, yeah, you're gonna do okay in sales. If all of a sudden every pool room in the country has leagues on this, and they have to buy all the equipment and run all, and they're paying a fee for the whatever it is, not really a franchise fee, but a fee for to have your league in their establishment, things like that. Then it's then you've got some possibilities. So the end game here is not about replacing, and I did track down the investors from Canada are still original investors from Canada, but the people in charge is a marketing group they hired out of Portland, Maine, called Shamrock Sports Entertainment. And I know who these people are because they actually were dealt in the bowling industry for a number of years. And so it's a legitimate sports marketing company. And they've kind of taken the balls and they're running with it.
Literally
Um,
taking the
Literally, right?
orange and purple balls. Yeah, yeah.
And so what they're doing is they're rebranding it, repackaging, and changing the rules to simplify it. Now you can shoot in all six.
They
You
didn't
can
lose
shoot
enough
in
money
all
10
six
years ago,
pockets.
Mike.
Well, obviously, the original investors still think that there's
Okay.
potential for this game or a game, and they can try to promote it. Now, when I talk to these guys, they say, "Listen, this is to complement the pro schedule, which is pretty robust right now as it is. This is not supposed to take players away from leagues and get them, exclusively in, you know, professional Q sports league. It's to try to generate some television following for a game that they can sell. That's what it comes down to. So it's and so here's where ESPN comes in. Where ESPN comes in is these guys have been in discussions with ESPN for almost a year about we're trying to develop this product. We want to get it into programming. Um, they can't do because of competition, because of all Matchroom, Predator, everybody else. They can't just say we're going to start a league. So what they got onto the program is, and this is where ESPN2 next Friday, ESPN2 transitions to 24 hours of what they call the Ocho. And the Ocho was this fabricated channel that came on back when the movie Dodgeball came out, right? It was just like they kind of made this up, the Ocho. And for the last 5 years, what ESPN has done is once a year, they take a day and for 24 hours, they run, I don't even know if you'd call them sports. They run all these different activities and I'm this is serious. This is pillow fighting. This is slippery stairs climbing. This is, but this is also where
Come,
cornhole started.
come again.
this is this is the truth. They're gonna have yeah, air guitar championships, marble, stone skipping on water, slippery stairs, pillow fights, all that stuff. This is what they do. So everybody gets these like hour blocks during
Okay.
this 24-hour period. And
Okay.
over the past 4 or 5 years, they've developed this kind of like cult following of people who like dial into the Ocho on this one day a year and watch just this wild shit off the rails type of stuff. Some of it, but so to me, it's kind of like a semi-sports edition of auditioning for stupid pet tricks on David Letterman, right? I mean, it's kind
Hoping that it catches.
hoping that something catches. Cornhole caught on, right?
Right.
It's I think its maiden voyages were on the Ocho, when they did this. So so it's that kind of gimmicky kind of thing. And so what they're going to do is they're going to have their 1 hour of programming live next Friday. And they got a cherry spot. They got like 1 p.m. on Friday afternoon next week live on what you would normally turn into as ESPN2. And so there's going to be these, I think it's Jennifer and Feder against Johnny and Jeanette playing this game that's a spin-off, a reconfigured bonus ball. And the whole idea is, okay, let's see what kind of following we can get, see what kind of buzz we can generate from it, and then go back into meetings with ESPN a week later, a month later, whatever it is, and say, okay, here's what the numbers generated, here's what the buzz was. Is there room in ESPN programming in 2024 for 3 events, 6 events, whatever they think that they can kind of work in, and then add players, add teams, and try to start to create this following. So,
But
it's
you have. I was looking online, and I was seeing a comment from none other than Allison Fisher, and she said, you know, 3 out of the 4 players don't compete anymore, and that's telling, but that's just like a one piece of like this head scratching lineup
Well,
that
this is, listen, this is not a supposed to be, it's not even trying to be pitched as this championship or major competition. It's an exhibition. It's an
okay,
exhibition. And so if you want to have an exhibition, you could do worse than have Jeanette Lee on there, right? You could do worse than
that,
having Jennifer Beretta on there.
keep on
You know,
going. Please,
you
please
know,
keep on going. Keep on going.
you can do worse than having Johnny Archer on there,
Give
Mike.
me a effing break, Mike. Because if you were to list, let's say, the top 3 players that I do not want representing pool right now, I mean today, right now, to put our best foot forward, if you were going to tell me the 3 worst players, you would not have to go very far before Johnny Archer's name gets mentioned, Mike.
Because he's persona non grata with the people who follow pool every day and who are on
Okay.
this watching this stream every time it comes on and who are on social media responding to Dom or Oscar or whatever. Yes, Johnny Archer is not, a favorite son. Nobody who spends next Friday watching the Ocho knows that Johnny Archer owes Oscar Dominguez money.
Well, but
Nor
what
do they
happened?
nor do they care. They
What
want, can
happens
the
when they
guy hit a
start
ball in the
searching?
hole?
Can he hit a ball in the hole?
We'll see. Can Jeanette? I mean, it's going to be an hour of, okay, we're going to try to teach people this kind of game, and we're going to see if we can get them to like this kind of game and want to play it themselves. They don't even care who wins the match. Trust me. So this is not, we have to understand what the purpose of this. It's an exhibition and a showcase to people who
So
probably
they're just
don't
so
know a
they just
pool
hate
ball
money.
from a
So
grapefruit.
they hate money, basically.
Well, here's the thing. When they did, these are guys who started bonus ball, right? The money guys. When they started bonus ball, Johnny Archer was like one of the faces of their group. He was.
Right.
They have familiarity with him. He was the main guy back then. And in fact, I talked to Johnny as well as the owners and the marketers of this group and a couple other people. Johnny's tie into this originally was just going to be as an announcer or maybe as kind of like a sideline reporter or something like that because they had familiarity with him. And the problem was that, you know, Johnny yourself said, listen, you don't want to have these guys shooting balls into the wrong holes or shooting the wrong ball or whatever the case is. I probably need to be in there as kind of playing with them, coaching, making sure things go right because it's 1 hour and it's live and you don't have time to reshoot stuff and you want it to go well, right? So that's how Johnny ended up actually on the playing field. So from my understanding of it, so it's like I said, it to me it really didn't matter who the 4 people were as far as real pool playing goes or real competition goes or who's a real champion. You got Federer who's new and young, you've got Jeanette who's iconic, and then you have Jennifer who's beautiful and a good player, and then you got Johnny who's old. Anybody, if someone's watching it who watched pool when it was on ESPN in the 80s or 90s,
Right.
they're going to recognize who the guy was. So you've got these different generations of talent that all may connect with somebody who's tuning into the Ocho next Friday for 24 hours of binge watching pillow fighting. So I mean, really, what can go wrong? I think
Famous
I've got
last.
you speechless, man.
You do. I don't. I really don't know where to go. What could go wrong? You're right. It's not really competitive, and I guess if I just from a business standpoint, I don't understand the logic of, hey, we struck out with this before, so let's give it another swing now, and then let's use players who aren't competing anymore, and then let's
Well, for
if
one, go ahead.
I look, you could maybe sell me on the Jeanette thing because Jeanette is Jeanette, right? She was all over,
Sure.
for the last, 30 years she was the face of pool. I get that, and I understand that. But she would be the one who I would think would be great at like a sideline type reporting, right? Do they not look up any of these guys on social media when they say, "Hey, let's get in bed with him"?
Well, they're not getting to bed. These are four people who are using exhibition. They're not going to be the poster children for the future of this game. And like
But
I
that's
said,
your foot forward.
what's that?
That's your foot forward, though. I don't know.
The game,
If
the foot forward is the game. Is the game interesting and appealing to people who watch? It doesn't matter who plays it. They can get four celebrities to play
see
it.
that would be okay with me. The celebrity
Okay.
part, 100%. Because at least they'll be witty and entertaining and comedic and have a good punchline. But
You don't think
Johnny,
Johnny and Federer throwing lines at each other is going to be comical?
look, I love Federer, Mike. I do, but he can be. He's not Mr. Personality.
Right, right. Well,
And
it,
so
it's it's not our place. I mean, it's our place to have an opinion on it and say we hate the idea that
we made
Johnny,
our own place to have an
whatever, right?
opinion.
But
Right,
this is somebody's money who has an idea of how he wants to try to market and sell a product.
right.
I'm not going to tell him how to do it. He could follow my advice and be dead wrong. He could follow his own advice and be right. I'm going to take a chance on my own advice if I'm the guy investing the money, or my own opinion, or my own instinct. So, the end game here is that it's when push comes to shove here.
They're sitting on a lot of merchandise, what it sounds like, and they,
This is all kind of, it might be sitting on merchandise, whatever, but they're going to take a shot at trying to get a pool game into people's, TV sets and see what they think of it and see if they can develop some interest in people wanting to play this game. That's all it comes down to.
Okay, so let's set aside the fact that they hate their money. Let's just put that to the side. Okay. As someone who covers the sport, or has covered the sport for the last 40 years, right, Mike? How do you would this be what you would want to be our first foot forward in how many years back on their platform, back on ESPN?
I don't look at this as ESPN's going to make their decision on the future of pool based on next week's hour on the Ocho. They just happen to be no one who in pool's gone to ESPN in the last 5 years and said, "Here's a product I want you to run. I'll buy time from you, or let's work out some kind of brokering deal for commercial time," or whatever the case is. No one's even bothered doing that. So I'm not blaming these guys for going to ESPN, and I'm not blaming ESPN for saying, "Yeah, what the hell? If you want to run this up, if you got an hour of program you're going to put on during this 24-hour period where we have pillow fighting, yeah, go ahead, let's do it." They're not making any promises. There's not any big contract for the future of pool, So this is not ESPN went around looking for pool and this is who they thought was their best option. These guys went to ESPN. God bless them. Good for you for having the insight and the foresight to go say, I think we can find a spot where ESPN will show pool. We'll get to show our little game on TV for an hour to these crazy fans who love to watch this stuff once a year, and we'll see what happens.
Wow.
And so it's like, and ESPN, it's easy for ESPN because this is being done at an arena in South Carolina. Rock Hills or something like that, South Carolina. And this is where they've done this Ocho thing for the last couple of years. They get this arena and they have basically 3-ring circuits. They have these different stages set up for these different activities that they're going to, and so they bring down their production crew that goes down there and they just tape. And after the pool hour's over, they're going to go to this next stage and do something else while they tear down the pool and get it ready for pillow fighting and start bringing in beds and women.
That's really what I want to watch. That's really what I want to watch is the pillow fighting, Mike. I mean, if nothing else, I'm tuning in on the 4th to watch the pillow fighting and see, who's going to knock who down and out.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, I'm glad you're not here because me and you might have a pillow fight right now, Mike. This is I don't even know. I don't even
Well,
know.
you got the bed there. You got the pillows. I want to see you stand up and
I'm
start
ready.
throwing pillows
I'm
around,
I'm
man. Let's see
training,
it.
Mike. I'm waiting for Johnny to call me to invite. I'm gonna be on the standby list for a pillow fight. I don't listen. The other
I'll
thing
pillow
is,
fight with Jennifer Beretta.
hey, easy, Tiger. All right, easy, easy, Tiger. All right. uh, the other thing is, Mike. It's kind of if I'm Federer, it's a little embarrassing to be honest with you.
Well,
It's a it's
here's how
I I
Federer's looking at it
I,
because
I don't
I talked
understand.
to him about it as well. Been on the phone a lot in the last couple of days,
I can
but
tell.
it's live ESPN. Him getting a chance to be live on ESPN hitting pool balls for an hour. Okay, doesn't I'm sure there was a appearance fee payday. I'm sure it wasn't
Of
huge,
course,
but it's like what the
good for
hell?
the
He's
brand.
it's I don't look at this as being beneath him, embarrassing for him, going to give him a black eye, going to make him
I'm
look
not
like
saying
Johnny
black
Archer, going to
eye.
make him look like you know some kind of commercial
It's a
sellout.
little cringy. It's a little, you know. Mm.
Well, why don't you wait until you see it? I mean, everybody's already made up their mind about it, and they haven't seen anybody hit a ball, or they haven't seen what the stage looks like, or they haven't seen what the presentation looks like. So, I'm
Because that's their foot forward. Listen, you can't blame anybody else but the ones who are putting this forward as it stands right now with
yeah.
these four people. You know what I mean? So the fact that people have already have assumed so many things or have a bitter taste in their mouth before they even watch a product, that's their own fault, Mike. I'm not gonna sit here and be apologetic for an opinion based off of somebody who's a shithead who's getting a chance because he's buddy buddy with someone 10 years ago and they want to bring him back on the stage. That part I'm not gonna apologize for. You should have done more of a due diligence. There's plenty of guys with great personality with pool. I get it. None of them, with Johnny's personality, I guess. But hell, get Earl then. Get Earl would make more sense to me. Earl would be. I want to watch that car accident waiting to happen. You know that for sure. You got me on 1,000,000%.
Well, everybody's talking about this is going to be embarrassing for Poole, but you want Earl on there because it's a car wreck.
Well, Earl is just different though. Earl's Earl, and John. And listen, Johnny ain't Earl. Let's just be real. Johnny is not Earl. So,
No, Johnny's
um,
definitely not Earl.
yeah. But
Uh,
okay, well, I guess I mean, I'm sure I'll be watching, and I hope that I do hope it goes well. But say skeptical is being mild from a pool fan standpoint. That's not what I would want to have our foot forward as.
well,
Not
and
even from a player standpoint, but like
luckily
from the
for
game.
us, there aren't going to be any Poole fans watching. There'll be a few out of curiosity
No, they'll
so
watch.
that they
People
can
will
post
watch.
something on social
Yeah.
media. But for the most part, the people are going to be sitting in front of their TV in their boxer shorts, eating popcorn and burgers and watching the Ocho for 24 hours just to see what kind of wild shit they throw on there. Maybe they'll find it entertaining. Who knows? I mean, these guys have created a game and they think that they can get some traction thrown out in front of an audience like this. All right, have at it. Let's see what happens. I personally wouldn't, you know, bankroll a lot behind it of my own personal money, but
Because you don't have money like those guys do, Mike.
I don't have money. That's the main thing.
Tomato, tomato.
So
Nevertheless, listen, we appreciate you for doing all that homework. It was, you know, I I'm surprised to hear that like it looked like bonus ball. I'm surprised that it was more directly connected to bonus ball. When it like I get the how everything kind of comes together. I'm just still surprised at the choices. I don't think it was you know I don't think it was very thought through, and that's just me. But
yeah, again,
I,
like I
I
said,
I can understand. Listen, I can understand some of the other picks. I get it completely from a marketing standpoint and from trying to like bring in that casual person that these people know. You know what I mean? That they recognize. But hell,
right.
I'd I'd ship it on Efren. Well, no, because even Efren doesn't have the personality like Earl does. So Earl would be the guy. Earl would be the one that you would want to see, and you just never know what's going to come out of his mouth for better or worse. And that guy can
So
just
let me. I gotta disagree. I think Earl would be the worst pick possible. And
Yeah.
everybody thinks it's a great pick. Everybody on the thread has said, you know, Earl, you're right. Earl would be 100. So you're investing. There you go. And a boy, Ryan.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
let's just keep it
Yeah.
in text. I don't want to see any photos.
Yeah.
But you know, you're a guy who's investing in a product and a game, and you're throwing it on live TV to see if you can generate any interest from
Right.
people watching it on TV. And you want to put on a guy who is about 70% chance of saying, I don't understand this game at all, anyways,
Yeah.
the
Your
first time he
impression,
misses a ball.
your impression is spot on, by the way. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so there goes all the money you just invested. So,
Right.
you know, you don't want someone on who's going to call you a sucker. So, you know, and as far as all the other top pro players, again, these people who are watching don't know Sky Woodward from Johnny Archer, don't know Kelly Fisher from Jennifer Beretta, don't know, and it's not, again, to me, it's not important who's in their plan. You're not selling to people, and you're not selling that this is world championship competition. You're selling cornhole, you're selling jarts, you're trying to sell someone, here's some new interesting game, would you consider playing this? That's all you're doing.
We'll see on the fourth. We shall see on the fourth. Yeah. I'll probably have my popcorn and my boxers on, and I'll probably be tuning in. You know, and I
you
probably will.
will be you
I
will
will.
be completely
I
down.
will be sending you the selfie, Mike. All right.
Okay,
Whenever.
here's what I want to see next Friday the 4th at 1 o'clock, since it's going to be live and you know
Is it?
exactly when
Is
it's
it next
going
Friday?
on.
It's next.
Yes. And you know exactly when it's going on, when it's coming off. I want to see, you know how you watch, like how they do like the Super Bowl, and sometimes on one of the ESPN platforms or Fox channels or something, they'll have two guys just sitting there watching the action and just like having a conversation about what they're watching.
Sure.
I want to see you and Dom
Oh
watching
God.
watching this on the
Listen,
Ocho
let me tell
next
you,
Friday.
the man who hates his money out in Canada can't afford me and Dom. Let me tell you, buddy. All right, so I could promise you that. But and that's the other thing. I wonder who's going to be commentating then. If it ain't going to be Giant, you know, there's going to be more faces involved in that.
Yeah, I don't know who's doing commentating. Back in the bonus ball days, it was Jim White. Um, and you know, the bonus ball, if I recall, bonus ball was the first competitive event that used racing tables. There's a piece of trivia. I
Is that
think,
right?
could be wrong. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know what they're. I'd be interested to see what kind of arena to put together. I know that they hired a guy that I know from the bowling business who does LED, panels along the side. So they'll trick it out the best they can. Um, no, August 4th is not a Sunday. August 4th is a Friday. John
Well,
Cork.
we will be watching. Nevertheless, speaking of shit shows when it comes to pool, let's talk about the Sharks event, Mike. Since we're on the topic
I'm
of
gonna let you rant about that. I
Mike,
mean, it's just we
I've never seen a worse modern professional tournament ran like in my life
we talked the other day, and I was trying to be
ever.
gentle about it, but we've seen these events in the Philippines that have been kind of these international pro events, whatever.
Something's up, Mike.
Manny
Something's up.
Pacquiao Opens, things like that. They were always, just run with no.
Something is not adding up when you have that level of people involved who are that tech savvy because they can do great things. It seems like those guys can, right? But then they're leaving out key fundamental things to not be able to follow the tournament. It's deliberate, and there's something else that's behind it. And
Could could be
it
could be that. It could just be also that. Listen, there's in Matchroom learned this when they switched from doing Moscone Cup and World Pool Masters to open tournaments. That's a big step. It's a big difference. There's a
right?
lot of list of different
But
logistical hoops you got to
one
go through and things like that
one
that
of the
make
first steps is use a fucking bracket, Mike. One of the first steps when you talk about doing an open tournament is let's get a
it's
bracket.
they just have to put a camera by that big piece of paper up on the wall that's got the flow chart
I
where they
I don't
fill
even
in with pencil who won the last match.
no. They're good at decorating a PDF file that looks amazing, and that's great. That's one great graphic that you can have up on screen. I love that. But like you can still have a digital bracket, Mike. I don't even know
Yeah.
who's playing who or who's gonna play who or how it's gonna go. I have no idea. I just
Well, and
I don't I don't.
here's one thing that I would like to bring up, and I'm not trying to throw Matchroom under the bus or anything, but Jim Telfer, who's really sharp guy and very dialed into this stuff, says Matchroom's going to drop them like a bad smell. Shaq and cover. I agree 100%. But doesn't some of this onus doesn't somebody own us for this fall on Matchroom?
Well, there's got to be
I
some
mean,
vetting involved, and
what they've got to do a lot more vetting in the future, because they could say, we're just trying to deal with promoters, we're going to put on big events, but once they assign points to it, they're pushing players to spend money to go and play in these events. Okay, so now a guy like, forget the Filipinos, a guy like Federer, a guy like the Coe brothers, a guy like Aloysius Yap, whoever else, they spent real money to go chase this tournament because they are keep being told they need to chase points. Okay, so then they get there and it turns out to be a shit show, and Matchroom's going to drop them like a bad smell. Well, to me, you're part of that smell. You have to do a better job going forward of vetting these events and holding them more accountable. And does someone from Matchroom need to be on site at every event and oversee things and just kind of keep their eye on it and whatever and report back to the home office or whatever? Maybe, but I think they've got to do a better job of if they're gonna keep telling players, if you want the pot at the end of the rainbow, you got to chase this, you got to chase that. They're spending their own money to do this, and I think Matchroom a little more accountable to this
well, I mean,
than just saying, well, they screwed up. Does that make sense?
yeah, I mean the Bucks starts and stops with them for sure, and that's where I guess the initial questions would start with, and um, the idea of hey, we can stream and we have a lot of money that we're willing to put up, you know, should not just be the criteria. And obviously, I'm being a bit sarcastic there, but like there should be certain non-negotiables, right? But this whole thing from the beginning just seemed very strange the way that it was promoted and led up to, and then just certain key things that are left behind for no reason that makes any kind of sense when you're following a tournament, Mike. I don't care if you're following pro basketball, pro hockey, if you're following the NFL playoffs. What is it that you see when you follow playoffs, Mike? When you follow a tournament, sporting event, you see the fucking bracket, Mike. You see the bracket with everybody involved, and you know who's gonna play who, where, and when, and what time, and all. What am I missing, Mike? What am I missing? Help me understand why these things are being left out deliberately, Mike. Help me understand. And then here's the thing. That's just what I'm able to see from being in the middle of nowhere, USA versus the
Right.
Philippines. I can only imagine the things that I'm going to hear when I get back home and have, and can talk to people as far as who was there, what the conditions and the event was really like whenever they're actually there, Mike. Because
Well,
I'm
Federer's already on record saying, as soon as I'm out of this tournament, I got things to say. So just stay in touch. If you ever find the bracket, if you find out that he's out of the tournament, give him a jingle because he's got an opinion.
book him. Let's get him on the show. You know, let's get him on the show. Listen, first of all, I wish him all the luck in the world. There's a
Yeah.
lot of great players battling it out. But I got such an ugly taste in my mouth, Mike, from this whole experience that I don't even want to watch.
Well,
I honestly I don't. And you know what? This is the other thing. And this started like months ago. Whenever they transitioned from being on Facebook versus behind that website wall, and they started having these great matchups, come on. right? But that they're billing as like legitimate gambling matches or whatever it is. When you stop having the ability to watch it, I got completely disinterested and checked out. Now they may have a great thing going on in the Philippines. I get it, and they can continue to have a great thing going on in the Philippines. Doesn't mean that the whole pool world has to watch it. Nor does it mean that someone like Matchroom needs to get behind it and put their name on it when there's going to be so many subpar aspects that they need to just, quite frankly, get their shit together.
Right.
You
Well,
know
yeah, everybody keeps saying it's all about the betting, um, and I explain to me what that means.
what do you mean? What are you asking me?
That what's wrong with the tournament there is all about the betting, or you're not seeing the brackets because of betting or gambling. There's all these comments in your thread saying that it's about
I
betting
listen. I
matchups.
but before Here's what I do whenever there's something going on in the Philippines. I reach out to my friends who are Filipino, who have very close connections with top Filipino players. And you know what I do? I ask them for information to go ask those players, right? And I heard this is probably like 7 days out. Hey, I'm not gonna say his name, but hey, I need a players list. They said, Mike, they don't want to release it until 2 days before because of the betting. And I'm like, I didn't understand how to
Yeah,
put
what does
that
that
together.
mean? Yeah,
I didn't understand that. But that was what I was getting back from them. This is a week out, Mike. Because when I'm first trying to find out the players list, that they had it, they were keeping it close to the vest, and the reason being was because of the betting. Now I don't know if that means that they're trying to just shorten up odds or if they're trying to just figure out. Like I don't know, Mike. I don't know, but
well, someone
there's
just said that they didn't give the matchup so they could get betting lines that they could make money on.
that I could see, maybe not exactly that, but I could see something along those lines. It's not because they're incompetent, Mike, or they aren't able to do it. There's a reason why they're not doing certain
Yeah,
things, and I don't think
it's
it takes a
strategic.
yeah. I don't think it takes a whole lot to figure out that if you follow the money, you'll eventually figure out what the answer to those questions are.
Yeah,
They built this brand on the back of being able to bet online. And we talked about this when we were first, mentioning the event overall. It's like when you have the promoter who's accepting money on these matchups, it just leaves
yeah.
windows
No,
to have.
that's a no no in and we talk about trying to get betting into pool and pool's previous betting black eye and whatever. All you're
Well,
gonna need to
here's the
do
other
is
thing is
start to
that
get
you brought up Matchroom, already, and there's an integrity unit here, right? That
theoretically.
right. So this to me would be something where, hey, whoever is in said unit, these are the kind of things they need to find out about,
The
and
matchroom integrity police. I want to know who's in charge of the squad.
I know a guy
I want
who
to
I'm
see them
gonna
all go
look.
blasting in there with
Listen,
badges on.
I'm gonna go and recommend Detective Pinozo to be on the case here. So,
Oh hell
uh,
no, hell no! I don't want to be the detective. I want to be the reporter chase. I want to be the reporter chasing the detectives.
well, we got to get Federer on. There's a lot of great players who are still left in there, including James and Carlo, Little Co, Federer. There's top talent along with unknowns, which is what Helfert was talking about before we got him on the show. I
Right.
mean, like whenever we got him on the show, but there's like the whole experience just kind of leaves me, a little. It's a little bitter, and like leading into it, knowing that it's going to be such stiff competition. I was really excited for Mike, and now it's kind
Well,
of like,
if you think you're let down, talk to some of those players after they get done with this tournament. I think you're going to talk to some players who feel like, man, that was just, I couldn't wait for this to be over and get out of here.
yeah.
So,
Well, let's find out as soon as we can. Listen, we appreciate all you guys for tuning in. This was kind of we were excited to come and talk about it, and more importantly, I mean, all the credits to you, Mike, because you do a lot of homework. Even you do legitimate work. I just so so uh, you know we couldn't
just
do it
trying to
without
set a
you.
good example for you, Mike,
You
for
know,
your
I'm
future. You're the
I'm
future. You're the future of reporting on this game.
oh
So
god, this the
we need for
poll
you to,
is different,
yeah,
buddy.
yeah.
Listen, if that's the case, we're really in a bad game, boys. I can promise y'all that. So now, listen, there's a lot more stuff that's going to be coming out. I'd imagine the next few days, a lot more reaction, and I'd love to get players who are there on. I'd love to get the champion on as well. I'd like, and I do want to talk about the positives of it. I guess being over here, it's not giving me much opportunity to really see some of the positives. I know there's been decent matchups and big players going out. but like because of the inability to follow it, I can't even really get that engaged in it, you know?
Yeah, yeah, you
So
just lose interest, right? Yeah.
yeah, after a while, for sure. And there was such like when I went back and looked, like the very next day, I'm like, wow, this guy's already in the one loss sign. This guy's out. You know what I mean? Like there were things that I'm just really shocked about that who's dropping the ball here? So anyhow, listen, I'm gonna go back and sweat these kids playing pool and it's the week's far from over and I hope to have you on again and let's see if you can
Yeah,
get
sure.
Federer on, man. Let's try to book that.
Are there brackets online for the kids?
Yeah, yeah. Thank the Lord there is. Yes. On CompuSport, you can follow the 14.1 brackets. I don't know what event is coming up after that, but they just finished up the boys and girls eight ball. So more national champions are to be crowned. And what else, Mike? There was something else I was going to tell you about. Are they finishing up Sharks tomorrow then? If they played down to to 16 already, is the event finished tonight?
You're asking the wrong person here.
Well,
Yeah, I don't
okay.
that I couldn't tell you.
Out see, and that's kind of like a punchline, but you're really being serious. So, uh, yeah,
It's like-
yeah, yeah.
no, I
Oh,
don't think it's tomorrow. I mean, it's almost tomorrow there already. So I think it ends there on Saturday. I could be wrong.
well, then it's barely Wednesday though. I don't understand. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, no, it's
We'll
going to
see.
be Thursday morning there in a couple hours. So Thursday, Friday,
So from
go
16,
from 16. Yeah, maybe Friday. Who knows?
yeah, we'll see.
Sometime next week, they'll after the betting's all in, they'll let us know who won.
Right after they break the money, then we'll find out. Yeah. Now that's funny, Mike. That's pretty funny. All right, listen, you guys. We appreciate all y'all for tuning in. We will see you guys soon. And yeah, thanks a lot for stopping by, you guys.